Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. The hell? What kind of grocery store treats its workers lower than slaves? OP, have you thought of reporting the store to the labor board? But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. Now I need a doctor's note to have water at my workstation. So I work for a small southern grocery store chain in the U.S. that has strict rules for cashiers. No, I will not disclose what company, since I don't want to make my identity any more obvious. We can't allow customers to bag their own groceries, even if they insist, because it's disrespectful to make them do our work for us. We must maintain eye contact and try to strike a conversation with every customer we get, even the ones who aren't interested in conversation, because it would be disrespectful not to do so. We also aren't allowed to sit down, have bathroom breaks, and most importantly to the story, we couldn't have water when there were customers around. It's disrespectful to remind them that we're human beings? I don't know. The water rule was a new one, and many employees complained about it, so they decided to rectify this by putting a package of water bottles the employees can drink in the back of the store upstairs. That way, they were technically providing us water, but we had to leave our registers, go to the back of the store, and get to the attic to get it. And we aren't allowed to leave our registers if 1, someone's on break, or 2, we have customers. It's a busy store. Openings are slim to none, and when they do crop up, we're called back to our register via the intercom after about a minute. So functionally, we still didn't have water. I'm pretty sure this was just a way to circumvent the law. Again, people complained about this. We don't get paid $7.25 an hour for this crap. They said tough luck. If you need water so badly, get a doctor's note. They also said that if we kept being ungrateful, they'd take the water bottles away. But I digress. All right then. Shockingly and totally not because of the lack of bathroom breaks and dehydration, I got a UTI and had to go to the doctor. While I was there, I explained my situation to them, and they hastily wrote me up a note that said I must have water at my workstation. Awesome, so I have a note. Time to buy one of those obnoxious 1-gallon bottles with motivational text. I got one and stuck the folded-up note on the side. When I come into work that day, right as I start to serve my first customer, the manager comes to my register fuming. She asks me why I have water. I play dumb and tell her that I forgot to show her the doctor's note. My mistake. I'm intentionally tedious with unsticking and unfolding the note from the side of my bottle. After all, I don't want to tear it, and hand it to her. My customer's still there this whole time, by the way. She looks at us concerned and says, "You need a doctor's note to have water?" My manager has now picked up the radio on her hip and walked away with my note, so I answer for her, "Yes, ma'am. The last thing we want to do is be disrespectful to our customers. Do you have our rewards card?" She slowly nods, visibly bewildered. I continue scanning and bagging her groceries, maintaining that uncomfortable eye contact using the textbook conversation starters that always fall flat. At the end of the transaction, we continue to follow the script of, "Have a good day, you too." I get to my second customer, and he's similarly confused about the water rule, having overheard everything. This cycle continues for 4 customers before my manager comes back and tells me that, fine, I can have water at my register, but don't drink it in front of customers. The guy I'm currently serving calls out the obvious problem here. The store's always busy, and there's rarely more than 2 registers open at a time. I would never have an opening. Because my manager is the kind that's a doormat to any and all customers, no matter how unreasonable, she performatively concedes and walks away. I take a long drink of water. Wow, none of the customers around me are offended by this. After work that day, I decide to hop on Facebook and Nextdoor because the local drama, there's always something juicy to read, and to my surprise, people are talking about the grocery store I work in, and not in the usual positive light. My first customer of the day after her trip to the grocery store has posted about the water rule to Nextdoor, and it's on our location's Facebook page, and on the company itself's Facebook page. And amazingly, it's actually gained traction. There's a pretty big outrage about it for such a small community. The next day I come in, I get called into the office. The big guys give me a stern talking to, saying I'm the sole reason the local community's pissed, refusing to shop at the store and filing complaints. Totally isn't the manager's fault, who openly talked about such an inhumane rule with a customer right there. Sure. Regardless, because I've otherwise been a model employee, they let me off with a warning. So I start the workday significantly less busy than usual and hearing the phone ringing a lot more in the office. My coworkers have also caught on to what's happening, and by the end of the week, most of them also have comically large water bottles with notes to justify them. About 3-ish weeks later, we receive an email and written notice in the break room from upper management. Cashiers are now allowed water at our workstations. Just please try not to spill any on the equipment or customers' groceries. Congratulations! I admire you and your colleagues for calling their bluff and getting that doctor's note. The working conditions are still unbelievable at your company. It makes me so angry. And our second story. I made many mistakes. Here's some backstory. I'm 19, college student in a southern state in the U.S. I went to the store with my fiancé late at night. Most people accuse this supermarket, Walmart, of never having enough workers. But he and I usually go at 3 or 4 a.m. Both of us are night owls and help is easy to find. I've never been unable to locate help within 10 minutes. I'd never worked at the store. My fiancé and I went to the supermarket to buy groceries late one night. While we were there, I remembered that our ant colony was out of protein and we'd need to get a fresh supply of food for them. Because the two sections of the store were spread out, my fiancé and I decided to split up. He continued shopping for groceries while I headed to the animal section. I admittedly wandered around the store, and at one point I brushed up against a clothing rack. This caused a shirt and hanger to become dislodged. Bending over to pick it up, I put the item in place and continued on my way. I visited the craft section, selecting cotton to use in my ant farm setup. Remembering my mission, I found myself walking towards the pet section. Our Walmart has an impressive display of fish. Thinking myself alone, I whispered, my thoughts of the setup, things I found wrong from my own experience with pet fish. Turning to the aisle nearby, I began a quest for fish food. Seeing betta fish tucked on a shelf stacked on top of each other, I became frustrated. I rearranged the bettas to where none were in the dark back of the shelf. Satisfied, I grabbed the betta fish food, high in protein, I usually grab for my ants, and turned around. To my surprise, a woman stood behind me with her arms crossed. She huffed at me, and I looked down, thinking she disapproved of my rearranging the fish. I mumbled something about them being in the dark and started to walk away. The woman grabbed my arm and squeezed. "Are you just going to keep ignoring me?" Confused, I attempted to pull my arm from her grasp. "I'm sorry, ma'am. Please let go." "Not until you help me. I've been waiting for several minutes." I blinked once, confused. "I'm sorry?" The lady rolled her eyes and started to pull me towards a different section. "I need blah, and I've been waiting for your help. Now hurry up." I dropped the fish food and paused to get it. This time she grabbed and squeezed my arm so tight that it hurt. "I don't have all day." I made a small squeak and my brain finally connected the dots. "Ma'am, I don't work here." "Yes, you do." "No, I don't. I'm sorry, ma'am, but I can't help you." "You obviously do. You were rearranging things and discussed how to change the fish." "Ah, I have 3 betta fish and some crabs, so I was just saying it's bad to keep the crabs with no access to air." "How would you know that if you didn't work here?" "Because I have fiddler crabs. They're drowning the crabs." "You rearrange the shelves. Just do your job and help me." I turned and started walking back towards the pet section, deciding to ignore her and wait for my fiancé. Without a word or her footsteps to alert me, she followed. I found my fiancé waiting for me and immediately asked if he had found everything. This was my final mistake. I guess I sounded cheery. I was happy to see him after that, and like an employee, because the woman exploded. "You'll help him, but not me? How dare you? I'm a paying customer. Help me first." My fiancé is a bit overprotective, and when the woman punctuated her last sentence by grabbing my arm tightly again, he also exploded. A few employees showed up once the yelling between them started, but they didn't do more than attempt to placate her until the yelling reached a fervor. The manager showed up then. She pointed at me and insisted that I worked at Walmart and she had been waiting for over an hour for help. I'd been in the store for maybe an hour, so unless she'd followed me the entire time, that was impossible. The manager convinced her that I did not, in fact, work at Walmart, but the woman never apologized. Instead, she turned and walked off without another word, with an actual employee trailing her. The manager apologized, we bought our items, and left. My mistakes? Well, apparently they were having the common decency of picking up clothing I knocked down. Apparently she saw that and started following me, talking to myself quietly, rearranging shelves. I can understand this one, but I said I didn't work there several times. Greeting my fiance. I'll never understand some people. Do people silently tail staff and hover behind them without asking for help or giving any indication that they're even there so they can claim that they've been waiting for hours for help? And our last story. They tried to force me to join an HOA. We live in a well-established neighborhood that has never had an HOA. We bought our house about 6 years ago. Recently, the larger neighborhood in general has been having meetups about forming an HOA. Our part of the neighborhood has 7 houses. The entirety of the neighborhood has about 40 to 50 houses. The 7 of us live on our own street inside the large neighborhood, and 4 of the 7 of us are against the HOA forming. We attended a meeting recently and were among some of the homeowners who are in opposition to an HOA. From what we could tell, there were only a few people from the larger neighborhood who didn't want the HOA. We expressed that we are against an HOA forming and that we will not sign any paperwork, we will not join an HOA, and we will not abide by the rules of an HOA. We were told that when the majority forms the HOA, we have to follow the HOA rules and that we will be a part of the HOA whether we like it or not. So we hired a lawyer. He said as long as we don't sign a single thing, we're not in the HOA. Even if we're the only house left in a neighborhood of 100 plus houses that's not part of the association, we have no obligation to sign. Engaging a lawyer to navigate the situation with the potential HOA is a wise move to protect your autonomy as homeowners. It's crucial to understand your rights and obligations in such matters. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.